I'm Richard Clarke. I record these talks every day as a way to deepen my inquiry. Listen each day and deepen your own practice. Welcome. I'm reviewing and commenting on the book Talks with Sri Ramana Maharshi. Today is from Talk 379. One Tirumalpad of Nilambur, a Malay gentleman, asked Sri Bhagavan for an explanation of Atma Vidya, knowledge of the self. Sri Bhagavan explained this short piece of 5 stanzas as follows. Chitambaram is the famous place of pilgrimage associated with Nandanar, who sang that Atma Vidya is the most difficult of attainment. Muruganar, a long-standing devotee of Sri Bhagavan, began, however, that Atma Vidya is the easiest of attainments. Atu Sambalam is the burden of the song. In explanation of this extraordinary statement, he argued that Atma, being the self, is eternally obvious even to the least of men. The original statement and the subsequent reasoning are incompatible because there needs be no attainment if the self is the substratum of all selves and so obvious too. Naturally, he could not pursue the theme further and laid the first 4 lines composed by him before Sri Bhagavan for completion. Sri Bhagavan admitted the truth of the disciple's statement and pointed out why the self, though obvious, is yet hidden. It is the wrong identity of the self with the body, etc. The questioner, how did the wrong identity arise? Maharshi, due to thoughts. If these thoughts are put an end to, the real self should shine forth of itself. Questioner, how are these thoughts to be ended? Maharshi, find out their basis. All of them are strung on the single I thought. Quell it, and all others are quashed. Moreover, there is no use knowing all except the self. If the self is known, all others become known. Hence is self-realization the primary and sole duty of man. Questioner, how to quell the I thought? Maharshi, if its source is sought, it does not arise, and thus it is quelled. Questioner, where and how to find it? Maharshi, it is in fact the consciousness which enables the individuals to function in different ways. Pure consciousness is the self. All that is required to realize the self is to be still. Questioner, what can be easier than that? Maharshi, so Atma Vidya is the easiest of attainment. In this dialogue, a Malay gentleman seeks clarity on Atma Vidya, or knowledge of the self. Ramana Maharshi provides a detailed explanation weaving through the apparent paradoxes surrounding this knowledge. To begin with, Sri Ramana references the saints Nandanar, who sang about Atma Vidya being exceedingly difficult to attain, associating him with the pilgrimage site Chittambaran. Conversely, Muruganar, a devoted disciple, argued that Atma Vidya is the easiest to attain, encapsulated in his song I Ati Sulambam, which means, "Oh, how very easy." This seeming contradiction forms the crux of the discussion. Muruganar's perspective is rooted in the notion that the self, or Atma, is inherently obvious and ever-present to all, regardless of their spiritual stature. The self is the fundamental essence underlying all existence, making it immediately accessible and self-evident. However, this understanding seems to clash with Nandanar's assertion of difficulty, creating a tension between the two ideas. Sri Ramana resolves this by explaining that the self, although fundamentally apparent, is obscured by the wrong identification with the body and mind. This misidentification is what makes realization of the self seem difficult. The underlying cause of this false identity is a proliferation of thoughts, which mask the true nature of the self. The questioner then probes further, asking how this misidentification arose. Ramana attributes it to the presence of thoughts. To reveal the true self, you must put an end to these thoughts. The method Ramana gives to achieve this is to identify and quell the foundational thought, the I thought. All other thoughts are based on this primary thought. By quelling the I thought, all other thoughts are naturally extinguished. The questioner continues, asking how to quell the I thought. Ramana advises that you should seek its source. By tracing the I thought to its origin, it ceases to arise, thereby being quelled. The source of the I thought is pure consciousness, which is the self itself. Ramana identifies the self as the pure, unmixed consciousness that allows you to function in the world. Realizing this involves a process of investigation within yourself and stillness. When the questioner marvels at the simplicity of this method, simply to be still, Sri Ramana confirms that Atma Vidya is indeed the easiest attainment. The difficulty perceived in Atma Vidya is not due to the nature of the self, but due to the misidentification and resultant thoughts. Once these are removed, the realization of the self is straightforward and effortless. Ramana Maharshi's teaching is that the self is always present and obvious. The apparent difficulty in realizing it stems from your own misconceptions and mental clutter. By seeking the source of the I thought and abiding in stillness, you can effortlessly attain self-knowledge, making Atma Vidya both the most obvious and the easiest of realizations. So, know yourself and be always free and at peace. The book, Who Am I with Comments, is my take on these early teachings of Ramana Maharshi. It's available on Amazon, free to Kindle subscribers. A link is in the video notes. These videos bring Ramana's teachings into your direct experience. Click subscribe to see more. Click thumbs up to like, and send questions and start a dialogue with a comment